Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, Senior Writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another edition of RTSports Weekly, live here on Twitch, my Twitch stream, which is JPower18. If you are watching this tape version of it, you can watch it live at JPower18 every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I do RTSports Weekly. I really enjoy doing it. This is kind of my nod to all the users on the site. I'm going over all things real-time fantasy sports, also talking about our championship leaders and winners at the moment. Want to give all those users their due, so that's what RT Sports Weekly is all about. I'm also going to talk a little strategy on today's show as well because of all the bye weeks, so I thought it'd be fun to talk a little strategy too, not just all of the news and notes from RT Sports and the championship leaders as well. So let's dive right into that. I have a lot of news and notes to get to here at Real-Time Fantasy Sports. First of all, fantasy baseball season will launch. Fantasy baseball 2022 will launch shortly after the World Series finishes. It's not over with yet, the World Series, but once the World Series wraps up, we will launch Fantasy Baseball 2022, and you can start drafting right after the World Series is over with. And as always, if you have any suggestions at all, anything at all that you want to talk that you think we should do with our games, our fantasy baseball games, please don't hesitate to write in. We definitely listen to them. It's support@rtsports.com. Again, support@rtsports.com if you want to email any type of suggestions you might have for fantasy baseball for the coming season. We're all ears. We love to hear from our users, and we definitely take all of your suggestions to heart. Also, Fantasy Football Face-Off. I want to show you these leagues. We are starting some leagues this week, so I want to show you those right now. You can see what fantasy football, fantasy face-off is all about. They're kind of cool leagues, especially if things aren't going too well for you right now in your fantasy leagues. You want to get in another league, and the season's already started, so you thought maybe you can't get in any more leagues, but you can get in these fantasy football face-off leagues. It's an 8-team tournament. There's no draft. You pick any players you want each week. The catch is you can only pick a player once. So once you pick that player, so if you want to get in one of these leagues, you want to take Tom Brady, you can take him this week, but you can't pick him next week. So there's some definite strategy involved. We pay out all different price points for the type of league you get in. $20 leagues, we pay out $125. $50 leagues, $350. So they're a lot of fun, just 3 weeks long. They're called Fantasy Football Face-Off. If you want to get in one of these leagues, go to rtsports.com, then click on the Money League link at the top of the page. The Fantasy Football Face-Off's right there. You can sign up for one today. Again, they're a lot of fun, just 3 games. If you want to get in another type of league, I highly suggest giving them a shot. So that's our Fantasy Football Face-Off leagues. Also, I wanted to talk about DFS. So the NBA season opened. So NBA DFS is open as well, and we have a promo we're running right now as well. We have a deposit code. If you enter HOOPS21, HOOPS 21, you get an instant 10% match for DFS and NBA. So let's pull up that for you as well. I want to show you the NBA DFS page so you can see what we have to offer there. Let me see this here. There it is. It's not showing up right now. Give me a second here. Oh, there it is. Okay, let me transition over to this. So this is the NBA DFS page. You can see all the different offerings we have. I'll click on the NBA link here. Different price points, different formats, all different options every day of the week we have as the season kicks off here. You can get in anything you'd like, NBA DFS. One thing that we're proud of is that we have a flat 10% rake across all DFS contests. So that's more rewarding to our fantasy players than you run into with the big guys, FanDuel and DraftKings. So we pay out better. We have a better rake, just a 10% flat rake across all DFS contests. Also, I want to point out our top players report too. This is something I think it's very beneficial to our owners. It gives you an updated ownership numbers for that night's games. So I'll click on that. You can see that too. So if you click on reports here, let me see. It's actually tools, and then you go down player reports. You can click on basketball, and then it pulls up the ownership rankings for the players for that night. So I think that's very important as well. Helps you set your lineup a little bit. Maybe you want to differentiate from other owners too. So it's a really nice tool that we have on our site, and it's something we offer all of our DFS players. So again, if you want to get in NBA DFS, it's rtsports.com. Click on the daily link at the top of the page. We're doing an instant 10% match for all DFS NBA right now. It's Hoops21. So just enter that in, and you can get in some good NBA DFS contests with a good rake for all of you owners out there as well. So I also want to mention we are now licensed in the states of Arizona, Tennessee, and Virginia. So this is allowing people to play our contests in those states and win prizes as well. So that's Arizona, Tennessee, and Virginia. We are now licensed in those states. Very happy to be in those great states of Arizona, Tennessee, and Virginia, so you can play DFS and all of our fantasy games in those states and win prizes now. Okay, I said I wanted to talk a little strategy this week, and I'm going to do that mainly because it's such a crazy week with buys. There's 6 teams on a bye. A lot of good teams are off this week. People are hurt as well. So I thought it'd be fun to look at some really deep dives for Week 7. You're going to have to do this in some of your leagues. I know I did. Unfortunately, in some of these leagues with deep rosters and injuries and bye weeks, you're really having to look deep to find players this week. So I thought I'd mention players that are owned in less than 10% of our leagues. Most of these guys are owned in just a couple percentage points of our leagues. So I thought it'd be fun to point them out, maybe give you some options to use for this week. I'm just going to run through them quick. So these are some deep dives for Week 7. My first one's Kendall Hinton, the wide receiver with the Denver Broncos. He has 7 catches for 62 yards his last 2 games. He's played at least 63% of the snaps the last 2 games, though, getting more work in that passing game. They have some injuries in Denver, and Hinton's been a part of that passing game. He plays Cleveland this week. They allow the 6th most fantasy points to receivers. So I think Hinton's worth a look if you're looking for a receiver for this week and you're having trouble finding someone. Our running back for this week is Chris Evans, running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. He had 67 total yards last week, played just 22% of the snaps, but still, that's a decent amount considering Joe Mixon's a starter. He's the top backup in Cincinnati right now because P. Ryan's out. Baltimore Ravens, that's who Cincinnati's playing this week, could be playing from behind. Evans is a good third down back. I think he could get some chances in this matchup, maybe in garbage time, but all the time counts for fantasy owners. So if you can get those points any way you can, I think Chris Evans is worth a look in some of these leagues where you're really searching for a running back. Another running back, this is a really deep dive. He's owned in just a handful of leagues, but Ty Montgomery of the New Orleans Saints. So he's emerged as the backup for New Orleans right now. He's played at least 45% of the snaps the last 2 games. Production isn't quite there, but he's on the field a lot right now. He didn't actually have a touch his last game, but he had 4 catches for 42 yards the previous game. I think New Orleans could be throwing the ball more against a bad Seahawks secondary this week. Montgomery could be a guy that could end up getting some yards for your fantasy team. If you're looking for a really deep dive for Week 7, I think Ty Montgomery is someone I would put on your radar. Another one is Alan Lazard, Green Bay Packers receiver. He has not topped 50 yards all season, but he scored a touchdown last week. He's played at least 79% of the snaps the last 3 games. He plays Washington, 2nd most fantasy points to receivers. I think Lazard could be a good option for fantasy teams really looking for some desperate receiver help this week. And I have one more for you, one more deep dive for Week 7. Demarcus Robinson of the Chiefs. He's been inconsistent in that offense, but he has 2 games with 13-plus fantasy points. He's on the field a lot as well. He starts opposite Tyreek Hill and the Titans. This should be a shootout in Tennessee. I'm actually going to this game really looking forward to it. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, a lot of fantasy points, and Tennessee also allows the most fantasy points to receivers this season. So those are my 5 deep dives for this week. If you have any questions at all, feel free to put those in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them, or if you want to email me, it's jeff@rtsports.com, or you can do it at Twitter as well, at Jeff Paur, P-A-U-R. Okay, let's talk about a feature on the site now. I ran through some things about things going on with RT Sports, gave you some deep dives. Now I'm going to give you a possible feature that you might not know about, and I think it's pretty neat. So let's transition over that, and I can show you that now. Let's look at it. Okay, it is the power rankings page on our site. So each league has this power rankings page. Doesn't mean a whole lot strategy-wise, but I think it's always kind of fun to look at, see how your team's doing, maybe you're not doing great in the standings, but you feel like you're having a great season and things just aren't working out for you right now. This page actually puts in all that into account. So not always the teams that are leading are at the top of the power rankings. So this is actually from the Champs League. If you want to get to the power rankings, it's under the league heading and then power rankings. Just click on that and it comes up. And as you can see, loaded flex options is actually first overall. He does not have the best record in the league, but he has the most points. And it has the strength of schedule up there as well, and then the roster strength too. So it puts in 4 different factors to come up with this power index. Like I said, kind of fun to look at. I'm not sure everybody knows we have it. Not always the teams that, if you can look, Rocco's team's 3-3 in this league, and he's actually ranked last. So he's thinking he's middle of the pack, 3-3, but he's actually the least ranked team in this. And you can see my team, Superpowers here. I'm 2-4. I have a worse record than Rocco's team, but I'm ahead of him in the power rankings right now. So I feel decent about my team because of that. So hopefully I get going a little bit here in the coming weeks. So I just thought I'd point out that power rankings page to everybody on the site if you're not familiar with it. Again, it's under the league heading, and then you click on power rankings. So kind of a cool little feature that I thought I'd point out. Let's talk about these championships now. I'm going to talk about the Fantasy Championship, the Best Ball Championship, and this week I'm doing RTFFC Silver. I do a different color each week. We have several of them. I'm doing silver right now. Let's click on the Fantasy Championship, see where we stand after 6 weeks of action. It was an interesting week last week. A little bit uneven scoring in my opinion, but let's see. That didn't come up. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that. I'm going to get this. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. That's why it didn't come up. Okay, Fantasy Championship Leaderboard. Let me pull that up right now. All right, here it is. Now let's see. At the top, we have a new one. It's Dush Daddy. This is a new leader. Last week, I believe it was the Cocktails and Dreams team. That's Chad Schrader, a great owner on our site. But this week, it's Dush Daddy. As you can see, his lead is extremely slim, though. It's like a point, maybe, over Coyote 23. So it's Coyote 23 teams in second. Then we have Chad 23, Chad Schrader 23. The Chili Squad's in fourth. Ilit, he's been up there as well. He's had some teams up there. AC Fantasy Sports is 7th. Richard Mallon is 8th and 9th. Has 2 teams in the top 10, so kudos to him. Let's look at this Dush Daddy team because this is a new leader. He had to have had a big week this past week to move up in these standings. So let's see how he did it. I'm going to pull up his team right now. You can see that, see who he has on his roster. As you can see, he's 6-0, Sean Dush. He scored 171 points this past week. Derrick Henry, no shock, he's on his team, had a big week. So Derrick Henry had a monster week. 171 points is a lot because last week we had 200-plus points a lot of the weeks last week. But this week there was very, very few teams cracking that 200-plus point mark. So this is a huge week for Sean Dush, which is why he moved up the rankings. Also has Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Chuba Hubbard, DJ Moore, Jamar Chase. Let's look at his bench. He had Darrell Williams on the bench, too, so we left some points on the bench there. Jalen Hurts had a big week as well. That he would have been better off starting him over Herbert, surprisingly. But Mike Williams, too, another player he had on his bench, didn't play well, so kudos to him for benching him because he's been a great play all season. I know he was banged up. He had his concerns about him, though, and left him on his bench. So this is a really good roster for Sean Dush. He could be at the top of this leaderboard for weeks to come with that great roster on his team. So great work to him. He is leading the Fantasy Championship right now. I'm going to pull up the Best Ball Championship now. I think we have a new leader in that one as well, as you can see here. Now scroll down. Yes, we have Mensa Ball. 1 is winning. Mallon's was winning last week. He is now in second. He has 3 teams in the top 5, though. Richard Mallon, he has a team in second, 4th, and 5th. A new third-place finisher, third-place person in the standings is Boom Party. That's a new team in this one, but this is super close at the top. Mensa Ball is just 0.2 points ahead of Mallon's. So right now, that's who's winning it all. We have Rosenhaus Factor in 12th, AC Fantasy Sports in 13th, too. Leo, with a bunch of numbers, is in 10th. Homer's Hitmen's up there, too. Keith Stone, that's a name I haven't seen yet as well. He's in 6th place. Smokin' Stogies is in 7th. That's a new name as well. And Alfie Solomons, that's a new name for me too. So let's look at this Mensa Ball team. He is in first place just by a hair right now. Let's see how he got there. I'm assuming he had a big game, big performance this past week on his for his team. Maybe he had Derrick Henry. Let's take a look. He had Derrick Henry, not a surprise. Matthew Stafford as well. So he did top 200 points last week. One of the few teams to do that. A monster week. Cooper Kupp as well. Adam Thielen. So Derrick Henry, Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen. Really good team on this roster. For this roster, for the his team name's shortened the timer. And on his bench, let's look, see if anybody underperformed for him. Austin Eckler definitely did. He has Rashad Penny, too. Could be a player in the coming weeks as he gets healthy and in the lineup this week. Mike Williams on the bench. DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin. So, wow. He had 3 receivers not perform well, and he still finished really well this week. So, good work to shorten the timer. He really had a strong week, and his team's looking good. He has some real great depth at the receiver spot. Some great receivers. So, that's the winner of the leader of the Best Ball Championship. Not the winner just yet. Still got several weeks left, but good work to him for being at the top of the leaderboard. Let's look at RTFFC Silver now. Let's see what's going on in that league and for that color. See who's winning it all. Cocktails and Dreams. So Chad Schrader, he is 3rd overall in the Fantasy Championship, 1st overall in RTFFC Silver. We got Drugs with a UZ at the end of his name, Vegas Money in 2nd, Rambo 2 in 3rd, Martin 002 in 4th, Joel HD 82 in 5th, HC Frost, Jack Segura in 7th, Robert Smash in 8th, 9th, Timoteo, I pronounced that wrong probably, but the Super Silver Haze team is in 9th. Then we have Mahi Caveman Crusher in 10th. So Chad is winning it all right now. He's just 4-2 as well, but he's got about a 15-point lead over the 2nd place team. Let's look at Chad's team, see how he got to where he is. I don't think I looked at this already. He did not have a great week this past week, so he must have really been racking up the points earlier in the season. But see, he lost his game this week, as you can see. The team Donald Thompson knocked off Cocktails and Dreams. He's 4-2 now, but still 1st overall in the RTFFC Silver. You can see his roster is pretty solid, though. Tom Brady, Aaron Jones, Antonio Gibson, Mike Evans, Mike Williams, Cooper Kupp. So Mike Evans, Mike Williams underperformed this week, which really hurt him here. He has Trey Lance on his bench. Some depth with Darrell Williams, Michael Gallup, T. Higgins, Chase Claypool as well. So good team for Cocktails and Dreams, actually winning it right now in the RTFFC Silver. So that's all of the championships. That's the lowdown on those right now. So good work to all those owners leading right now. I'm looking forward to examining that leaderboard again next week. Again, if you ever have any questions, you can shoot them in this chat. Shoot them to me in the chat. Or you can email me, jeff@rtsports.com. Or you can put them on my Twitter account, @Jeff Paur. It's JEFFPAUR. So that's my edition of RT Sports Weekly this week. Like I said, DFS has kicked off. NBA DFS has kicked off for us, rtsports.com. Click on DFS then, and we have a 10% match code right now, Hoops21. Just enter that to get a 10% match on everything NBA DFS. So get in one of those contests today. Check them out. We have a great payouts, especially if you compare them to the big guys, the big guns in the daily games. All right, this has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports. Good luck in Week 7. Hopefully it works out well for you this week and you win all your games. And good luck navigating all those buys and injuries as well. Have a great day, everyone.